Howdy y'all, and welcome back to I Am a Champion, my series where I talk about all things that I love about Olympics and Paralympics. So let's talk para-equestrian events. I love equestrian events, and I have so much that I would love to cover in this video, and maybe I'll get around to it. I don't know, but one of the things that stood out to me was that a big difference between Olympic equestrian events and Paralympic equestrian events comes by the fact that the Paralympics have dressage, which I'll get back to in a moment, and freestyle and team. That's it. Olympic equestrian events consists of road racing or open road sporting. I'm sorry, I don't have the right wording on that. Event jumping. They have individual, they have team. Oh yeah, and they also have dressage and freestyle. So they have a lot more sporting opportunities in the equestrian events in the Olympics versus the Paralympics, and that might not surprise you for a couple of reasons. Number one, equestrian events are very expensive to stay part of. And number two, if you don't have physical abilities within your trunk or legs or maybe arms, one might think it would be very difficult to partake in equestrian events. But see, the thing that surprises me about this is that there are jumping events in the parasport community, but the biggest countries that they would need to get on board to be part of this, to have it financially make sense to be part of the Paralympic events, just aren't there. And what really surprises me is that one of those countries is the United States, which is odd because when I was young, I'm going to geek out for a moment and share something that you may or may not know about me because I don't go off about it very often on here. And that is that I loved horses. I mean, I was kind of obsessed with horses when I was younger. I mean, I grew up with National Velvet. I grew up with tons of Western shows that showcased horses in a beautiful way, whether or not they were the stars of the show. I grew up with Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken. I mean, I grew up with a lot of great horse movies. Some less than great, but a lot of great horses were on TV and movies, and I loved them. When I was about 9 to 14 years old, I was told more than once that I would never be able to walk again. I had some very serious breaks, and then I was diagnosed with brittle bone disorder, osteogenesis imperfecta, and I was told that I would likely never walk again, and I would definitely never ride a horse again, which was really interesting considering I'd never really ridden a horse except at a kids function when I was younger, but they knew that I loved horses, and they wanted to make very sure that I knew I would never ride. I did, spoiler alert, get to ride, but what I loved about it, there was a commentator the other day that said that they couldn't explain what difference riding a horse can make to someone with disabilities looks like. And I wanted to answer that question as someone with disabilities whose life was changed in some way by horses. So here you go. You see, when I was able to read about or watch or think about horses in the midst of never being able to walk again in my mind, in my diagnosis, it was this beauty of freedom in a way that I never thought I'd be able to achieve again. Being able to watch horses in their graceful movements and the companionship between horse and rider was just so beautiful and freeing. Even if I couldn't do the riding myself, it was my happy place. When I needed to think on something besides my medical situation or my pain levels, I would literally picture myself hanging out in a field with a good Nancy Drew book and a horse just grazing next to me, and then getting to ride off and just have a merry time. And that was my happy place. And what's crazy to me about the United States not being in show jumping right now, even though it apparently is an event within the adaptive sport community, is that one of the first things that was recommended outside of my doctor's was to get involved in equine therapy. Now, there are a lot of different equine therapy places. Some focus on the emotional aspect where you're just paired up with a horse and you get to pet and groom the horse and maybe sit on it. I didn't get a chance to partake in it, so all I know is there is an emotional equine therapy aspect, and then there are other facilities that focus on the physical equine therapy aspect. And maybe it's because of where I live, I don't know, but I know that there are several within my state that focus on either or, sometimes both. I never got to partake in those because they were a little more pricey than we could afford, and it was a little further than I could travel. But I know that there was quite a lot of access to that. And I'm pretty sure show jumping was one of the options, at least somewhere within my state, for equine therapy. So it's very surprising to me that that's not in the para-equine events. So what does dressage look like versus freestyle? Well, from what I can ascertain from watching both Olympics and Paralympics and doing a little bit of research, dressage is basically a set of movements and gaits that you and your horse have to go through in a certain amount of time, and you do them in the same order as the other people. It's very choreographed for each horse and rider, and they have judges that judge whether you are able to do this gracefully and how you're able to transition between each of the preset requirements for you and your horse. It starts as an individual event, and then if you're able to make it to the top within your field, whatever number that happens to be per event, then you move on and you are able to partake in the freestyle. I'm not exactly sure how they determine who is able to partake in the team event, but the team event takes place with set amount of people for your team if they were able to make it high enough, and your team gets to compete in dressage. Freestyle, on the other hand, while looking similar, you're still not doing any kind of show jumping. You and your horse are dancing to music. You're on your horse, meanwhile, just to clarify that in case that looked in your mind confusing. Your horse is dancing to music. You're doing a choreographed routine of steps and movements with your horse to your music that you picked out. Now, it's a little bit confusing because in dressage, which took place before freestyle, there is music playing in the background, but you and your team did not pick out that music. It is just house music. So let's see, I am filming this right now on Friday. Today, the team events took place, and tomorrow, I believe it's tomorrow, the freestyle will take place. And I am just loving that they actually put equestrian team and a little bit of the dressage in the Peacock's USA's coverage of the day's events, because I haven't gotten to see that much of equestrian through the years, either at Olympics or Paralympics. So I love that that's finally being added, and I wish there was more talk about equine events, and especially I wish that there would be para jumping, but we'll see. Maybe down the line that ends up happening. For right now, maybe you can go and enjoy some freestyle and or team dressage/equine events. Thanks for watching. I hope I didn't confuse you more. God bless. Ciao for now. Bye.